If you've ever had a panic attack, you know that it's absolutely terrifying because it comes out of the blue, the environment doesn't warrant it, and then all of a sudden you're having trouble breathing, your heart is beating out of your chest, you feel absolutely terrified, you're sure you're going to die, you might have chest pain, you might have tingling or numbness into your arms or feet, and yeah, it's truly a horrible experience. So if you've been diagnosed with this or if you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. So I really wanted to discuss a root cause of panic attacks that is really misunderstood and really unknown to most clinicians, because basically they differentiate panic attacks from anxiety by what I just said, which is that the environment doesn't warrant it. There's no known trigger, yet here we go into all of these horrible symptoms and feelings. And when they discuss causes, when research discusses causes, they get into stress level and temperament. And we women, unfortunately, are very often put into this hysterical female category, and women do experience panic attacks about twice as much as men. So then that starts to corroborate the hysterical woman aspect. And so you can just get locked into this box of, you know, no, this is just you, this is your temperament. And all we can do is give you drugs to alter your brain chemistry so that you're not experiencing this as much or diminish symptoms. And so antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications are what's typically prescribed. And these drugs have dangerous side effects, and from weight gain to sexual dysfunction to insomnia, what else did I have down here? Nausea, not to mention the risk of suicide as a side effect. I can't really say that as a side effect so blithely, but it is. There is absolutely a link to antidepressant medication and what they call suicide ideation and suicide attempts, etc. So these are drugs that very seriously alter your brain chemistry. And that's not to say that there aren't people on these drugs who feel like they really benefit from them. I know that's true. But they also talk about the fact that I've gained weight and I don't have a libido, and these are parts of life that are, it's not normal to have to experience that. So certainly if there was a root cause to these panic attacks that we could really affect with an individual and remove them from the equation entirely, that would be great. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I see a lot of patients who have started to have panic attacks and it has completely destroyed their life, because they never know when another one is going to occur. Depending on when it occurred and where it occurred, then they don't want to do that activity again, which is logical. And so, if the first one happened to occur while they were in a car, then they don't want to drive anymore. And if it happened to occur while they were at work, then they don't want to go to work anymore. And so all of a sudden their life is dwindling because of this fear of, it's that place, that's what did it. And what I want to talk about is what we know to be a very strong correlation for panic attacks that has really, of course, nothing to do with your location and nothing to do with mental function. It is how your nervous system is reacting to what's happening inside your body. So if you follow the channel at all, I talk a lot about hiatal hernia syndrome. And so there's a physiological mechanism which research on panic attacks does corroborate, that all of a sudden your body's going into fight or flight. So most people have heard about this. It's your part of your nervous system called your sympathetic nervous system. So it gets revved up into, you're ready to fight or you're ready to run. So that's the flight part. And it's a good part of our nervous system when it's used appropriately. So you're getting excited about something, and you know, the adrenaline is pumping, and that can feel good when it, as I said, it's an appropriate response to what's happening. You know, you're working out, you're about to do a presentation, that kind of thing. It's very appropriate. What's not appropriate is, you know, sitting in a car, minding your own business at work, very calm, and then all of a sudden off your, you know, your sympathetic nervous system goes, and you're sweating and your heart's palpitating and you can't breathe. That's an inappropriate response. And what the research says is there's no apparent trigger. Well, I'd like to tell you that there is potentially a very apparent trigger, and that is what's happening in your gastrointestinal system, your digestive system. So I will describe it to you what occurs. So now you know if you're a person who has any sort of digestive upset. That can be acid reflux, that can be bloating, that can be burping, that can be regurgitation sometimes of food. You feel abdominal pain, you have constipation or diarrhea. You know who you are when you have digestive upset of any sort that's been going on for a period of time. So the mechanism that ties this into the panic attacks is really quite interesting, and that is that your stomach gets compressed due to outside pressure, because the stomach is a bag, and it can be compressed from what's called intra-abdominal pressure. So it just means intra, just meaning within your abdomen. And that pressure is coming from some sort of inflammation, which of course we have to figure out why that's happening for you. But it can result in the bloating, it can result in the acid reflux. And so, I'm gonna hold my hands a little higher. The stomach can get compressed, and as it gets compressed, it can bring acid up your esophagus with the classic reflux. But the other thing is that as that bag, that stomach gets compressed, it elevates. It has to get pulled upward as it compresses, because your esophagus, the tube that connects your mouth to your stomach, it's only so long. So with the compression, it elevates. Now, when the stomach elevates, what's right above it is your diaphragm. So your diaphragm is this beautiful organ that's also very, it's a forgotten organ. We can't live without it, but it's very forgotten. And it's a muscle, and it's an organ also. And there's domes, you know, it's like a dome-like structure on both sides, but your stomach's a little bit more to the left. So just above the stomach, again, is the diaphragm. And as the stomach elevates, it pushes up the diaphragm. Now, with that pressure up on the diaphragm kind of spasms. So you're still breathing, but not that effortless breathing that you should have. Now, your nervous system is very, very aware of how much oxygen you're getting into your body. Why wouldn't it be when, how long can you live without oxygen? Not very long, we're talking minutes, right? So you can live a week without water, a month without food. When it comes to oxygen, minutes. So it only makes sense, our beautiful body and its protective sense gets a little excited when that oxygen level goes down a bit. So your sympathetic nervous system reacts, and it's like, danger, 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 you know? It's like the smoke alarm going off in your house to protect you against the fire, right? Because where there's smoke, there can be fire. Same thing. What your body is saying is where there's less oxygen, there can be death, and we can't have that. So we're going to secrete a bunch of adrenaline, and we're going to get that heart racing and pumping in an effort to say, okay, do something, because this is not a good situation. Now, this is what's happening internally. Externally, you're just sitting at your desk, you know, calmly, or you're, you know, in a car calmly, or wherever you are. There's no outside environmental warning. This is all happening internally for you, okay? So that gets set off by that diminished amount of oxygen coming in. The other thing that happens to aggravate this is that as the stomach compresses, elevates, diaphragm elevates, what's right above the stomach is the heart. So they're very close to one another. So as the stomach and diaphragm elevates, now we're getting in the way of the heart. It's called a cardiogastric reflux. And now the heart can start palpitating, and it's getting excited because the stomach and the diaphragm is in its way. All right. So that's another thing that's getting these heart palpitations going. And so all of this is happening internally because of a gut malfunction. And it's really easy to fix. That's the beautiful part about this. It's a natural program. There's no drugs, there's no surgery, but this can be the root cause of a panic attack just based on your nervous system trying to protect you. It's just trying to say, I don't know what's going on. There's not enough oxygen, you see? And it gets on a roll with these stress hormones that it secretes when that sympathetic fight or flight nervous system gets excited. So it's not up here. It has nothing to do with what's happening mentally. There's nothing wrong with you mentally, which is why getting you on dangerous anti-anxiety or antidepressant medications really worries me and upsets me, because it's not root cause. It's not the reason why. Now, can some people have panic attacks that have to do with other reasons in life? Absolutely. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the person that has this hiatal hernia syndrome, as we call it, which at its root has a maldigestion, an issue with digestion, stomach, diaphragm, heart, as I just described. So I hope that makes sense. I really, there's so many people who go to the ER with this panic attack because they're sure they're going to die, and they're told, well, there's nothing wrong with your heart, there's nothing wrong with your thyroid, there's nothing wrong with your lungs, you're fine, it's just a panic attack, and here's your antidepressant, here's your anti-anxiety medication. And now that person is stuck with not only taking a dangerous med, but wondering when that's going to happen to them again. And as I mentioned, I've met plenty of people whose lives have been completely ruined by this because they're afraid to go out of the house and enjoy themselves because they just don't know when this terrifying experience is going to happen again. So if this is you or someone you know, then definitely let them know this is a very wonderful alternative. It's a natural alternative, and it really fixes it because it gets to the root cause. So we're happy to help, and I hope you enjoyed this information and you'll share it with others, because believe me, you probably know somebody like this who's suffering, and it's a horrible experience, and we can end that for them, which would be a beautiful thing. All right, we'll talk soon.